let's talk about what these issues mean for us. And I want to look at it in an interesting way of plus minus in our state of play. And I brought in two better minds with a great feel of what is happening and what should be done about it and what it means and where the priorities should be, okay? And I want to look at it in context of not just Israel, because let's be honest, Israel's not what the midterms are going to turn on. It's going to be extremism and who's battling it, depending on what bad thing happens. It's going to be the economy, and it's going to be democracy, and which side seems to be more ruinous. Now, right now, the needle is moving towards gerrymandering and redistricting in Texas. Man, does it look like dirty pool when you try to cut up places so that you can't win as a Democrat. And by the way, you already have 95% retention. The country has been gerrymandered so much, you have 95% retention of incumbents when they are less than 30% in approval. Legend Democratic strategist James Carville, legend host of the Stephen A. Smith Show, Stephen A. Smith. It's good to have you both. Oh, and I must announce, with Stephen's okay, of course, Stephen A. is going to have an even new way for you to hear his stylings. New show, September 17, Sirius XM. They needed a boost, and they just got it in the form of Stephen A. Smith. Congratulations to them. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
So, Brother James Carville.
Yes, sir.
Last thing you need is another platform. But forget about what's happening in the Middle East, because that's not what our politics here at home are really about. But nothing affects the outcome of elections more than the districts and how they're made up. And the Republicans have always known this, and they've done such an excellent job exploiting state races, winning legislative seats, because states do the districts. How big a deal is what we're seeing in Texas?
It's a huge deal, and Chris, you have to get the exact number, but it's been figured out. In order for the Democrats to break even in the House, they need to carry something like 52.5 or 53% of the popular vote. So it's supposed to be the most democratic of the institutions and governments and the most responsive to the will of the people. That is no longer the case. And of course, what you're going to start is they're going to do it in Texas, and they're going to try to do it in California, and they're going to do something in New York, and I don't know if they can squeeze another district here. And politics has not become your ideas, it's become what kind of computer map can you draw to protect yourself. And both, by the way, it is correct if you said both parties at fault. However, it's about 82 to 18. All right, and this is a pretty serious thing. Unfortunately, it's like warfare. One side arms, and you get ballistic missiles, and they get ballistic missiles, and you get this. And
no question.
I don't know.
No question. And by the way, it may affect. It may decide the midterms. You know, I keep talking. What are the issues going to be in which parts of the country? May not matter. If they get this done at the state level, it really won't matter what happens in the midterms, because they're going to have it locked up anyway. And, Stephen, I want your take on this, although it's not easy to match James, because the way he has positioned himself, I don't know if you can see him, but he has put his head right in the middle of the Statue of Liberty's halo. So he has a lot of cultural cachet coming right now, because he's basically Lady Liberty. How do you see that issue in terms of what it means to people and how little we pay attention to this?
Well, the first order of business is recognizing that you're brilliant because you know you're not. You just listen to those who are, and you learn from them. James Carville has forgot more politics than I'll ever know, and so listening to him and break out his points, I can appreciate where he's coming from. But here's the thing that I will throw in that I think everybody needs to understand. There is an advantage to all of, even to the Democrats, when all is said and done about what's transpiring right now. At the behest of the President of the United States, Governor Abbott has taken this position. It's not something that they haven't done before in the state of Texas. They did it in 2003. I think they did it a few years later after that, if I remember, 2021 as well, where after some delay caused by the Democrats, they ultimately got what they want in Texas in terms of redistricting. We know this. But because of Trump, so much stuff that normally gets ignored by the average citizen. He's such a polarizing figure. You either love him on the right or you hate him on the left, that ultimately he brings attention to the kind of things, dare I say, James, you yourself, Chris, and various others who are considered political aficionados would applaud, because if people pay rapt attention to what's going on, that's usually the first step towards addressing it with the fervor and the vehemence that it deserves, so you can put a stop to this kind of nonsense. Now, when we talk about the issue of gerrymandering and what have you, and what they're trying to pull over right now, it's something that has happened, but it usually happens at the end of each decade, they say. This is not something that happens in the middle of things as we're seeing it unfold right now. So it's clear what Texas is doing in Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, Texas, Houston, places like that, where are considered mostly blue in the eyes of some people. They believe the redistricting will generate 5 additional seats in Congress. If they're right, what does that say? They pulled the okie doke on Texas citizens who aren't necessarily of the red wave. And that's what they will have done to secure more seats in the House, which will secure Trump's agenda through 2026 midterms, and obviously until he leaves office in 2028, assuming he doesn't try to circumvent the Constitution with the 22nd Amendment and get a 3rd term. So all of these things are going to force us to pay attention to it. I don't like what's happening. I think it's real slick. It's shady. The Democrats haven't been innocent of it themselves in the past, but nevertheless, maybe something like this, because of Trump's presence in the White House, will bring the attention to this issue that it so richly deserves.
You know, part of the problem is, James, Stephen is actually exhibiting what you were referring to. One of the layers of your point was, yeah, both parties do it, but it's like 82-18. James happens to be right. Democrats, you can say they don't play the game as well, or they don't focus on it, or they don't understand the value of it. I don't know what the reason is. But Republicans do this a lot more and a lot more effectively than Democrats do. That's why they focus so much on state legislative houses, and it's worked very well for them. Again, I don't hate the players. I don't hate anybody, but I do hate the game. And this is the game. And that's why I didn't even focus in this segment on what the governor's doing, chasing after Democrats who ran away. See, because that's a distraction. He does have to get him back for a vote. He shouldn't do it the way he's doing it. He's going to victimize them. But that's not what matters. What matters is the reality of the manipulation of the process. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.